Welcome to another episode of Simple Thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about me, and what I'm mainly going to be talking about in particular is why I don't really do anime on this channel. Now, the thing about it is, I do watch anime, but not as much as I used to. Like, I used to love watching a bunch of different animes, like, in high school, but as I got older, I found it just becomes more of a chore to try to talk about a bunch of animes when literally every season there's like new anime, and it's like, okay, how do I keep up with all this? And it's really bad to say, being a review channel, it's like, I can't review, I don't want to review all these different animes, because the thing about anime is that there's always new stuff every season. But the thing is, a lot of that stuff does not go on to continue to be anything else. Like, usually it'll have like maybe 12, 24 episodes max. And then after that, it's like, never comes back. It didn't gain enough popularity, and that show is now gone. And that show will never be continued. And I'm just like, that's sort of the problem. I mean, there are shows that, finish their story within the season. Like, Erased, which I've done a review on that, and the thing about it is that can be good, but I don't know what animes are going to do that. That's sort of the problem, and like I said, it just becomes a bit of a chore to try to review a bunch of these things, because there are so many. It's like, Jesus, they just don't slow down. It's like first season, like in the fall season, here's all these animes. And in spring, or winter, here's all these new shows. And then spring and summer and all that. And I'm like, Jesus, dude. Trying to keep up with that, it's just like, God. And the other big thing about it is that, like, there are so many different, anime reviewers, there's like Mother's Basement, Digibro, and stuff like that. And the big problem is that I feel like I can't do nothing new there. Like, I do watch anime from time to time, but the most I can do is probably like Dragon Ball Super and My Hero Academia. I watch One Piece, but even then, it's more or less I'm reading the manga more than I am watching the show. And the thing is, when it comes to like trying to do this, like I said, I don't feel like I can do much new here when it comes to reviewing anime. I don't feel like I can add much of a different spin to it, because these guys who do review anime, they do their homework. They full on look into every aspect, including looking into Japan's history and all that, just to explain the anime. I mean, it never makes me want to go watch the anime they're talking about, but it can be fascinating, I can at least say that, but I feel like it's so difficult to try to, like, talk about anime, because there's so much to it. There's always so much thought going into it, and, I mean, that's true of, honestly, any show, but here it's like you kind of want to learn a bit of the culture as well to be able to understand the show a bit better. And that's sort of the thing. And also, another thing about reviewing anime is, like, my style kind of would go against it. Because, as we know, there are, like, a bunch of most of the time it's always subbed. And when I reviewed Erased, that was a bit tricky, because it's like, okay, because the way I do my reviews is I make the clips fit within the... I try to make the clips of the show fit be a reaction to certain things I say. And with anime, it's like, okay, this is a sub, and sometimes the sub can go into a whole new scene, and I usually try to make it so, the reaction they have is like one word sometimes. Sometimes it could be a whole phrase, depending on what I've said, but it becomes a bit difficult, because it's like, okay, I gotta try to make this one scene where they have this bit of dialogue fit within like my time frame, so it doesn't like feel like it's spilling over into a new scene or anything like that. And so that becomes more of a chore. Now, granted, there are dubs of a lot of different anime, but I don't know. I mean, I could always do that, but usually when the dubs come out, a lot of the time they've already finished. That's the big problem. I mean, or more or less, they've been out long enough that people have already gotten their conclusions of what they feel about it. So I feel like there's nothing new I can bring to the table. Like, I feel like when I say something about it, someone that's already said this same thing, and there's no point of me talking about this. So that's sort of the big problem there. Like, I just feel like it's just easier to do cartoons. Granted, I know the big trouble about doing cartoons is that not many people really care about cartoons as much as they do anime. Like when you look at anime reviewers and stuff, the thing is, they've pretty much gone over in the million subscribers and stuff. It's easy for them. Like, if you look at Mother's Basement, he started like maybe 2 years ago, and somehow he's boomed. Like, he's boomed straight up. Like, he got so many subscribers so fast just because he does anime. But cartoon reviewers, the highest we got are people like Vasilis Bomb, Rebel Taxi, and the most they can get up to is like the 100,000. They don't get to the millions. And I find it more tricky. That's sort of the thing. It's like the cartoon community, it's not as strong as the anime community. When you think about it, it's kind of funny. It's like, how is it the anime community is so much stronger? But then again, when you think about it, the anime does put out a lot of good quality stuff. They do. It's just the big problem is that with cartoons, on the other hand, they put out a lot of stuff, but a lot of it is garbage. Like, we get some good stuff, but you have to dig through a bunch of shit a lot of the time. With anime, there's not as much shit. There's clearly still some shit in the mix, but it's a bit more, spread out. Whereas with cartoons, you get a lot more shit. That's the big problem. And usually when it comes to a new season, there's not a whole abundance of new cartoons like in one go. Like they won't have 12 whole new series all within a season of a year, within each season of the year. Like, that's sort of the good thing about it. But I don't know. Like, when it comes to reviewing cartoons, I feel like it's a bit easier for me to do because I grew up watching cartoons. I did grow up watching anime. I loved Toonami. That was my big introduction into anime. But as I got old, I used to love watching it in high school, watching different animes in high school. But as I got older, I was like, okay, like, there's new series and shows, and it just became overwhelming, It's like, Jesus, all these different shows, and me trying to review them, I'm like, I don't know how these anime reviewers do it. It's like, fuck. Like, they somehow managed to get all these animes, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they're able to do it, but it's like, it's just, I give kudos to the people who can do it, but me, I'm like, nah. It's kind of funny in terms of like how anime reviewers get like so many subscribers so fast, whereas cartoon reviewers, it takes a while. Like when I started this channel, originally I really had no too much of a clue as to how I wanted to go about it. I did want to talk about media, of course, but I was like, what media did I want to talk about? And I thought, why not cartoons? I feel like just not enough people, talk about cartoons as much as they could. I mean, there are a bunch of people, obviously, but not as many. And I felt I could do something, put a unique spin to it, like the in my head stuff. But, and I constantly get this stuff, like like in my comment section, I always constantly get the whole, how come this channel isn't as big? How come this channel doesn't have like more subscribers? And I'm like, I put the videos out there, share it, and let people know, hey, this is out, here's this content for you. And people just don't flock to it. I don't know why, but I'm happy with the audience I got. I'm not like to the point of like, oh no, you guys need to be subscribing to me. Come on, like, no, I'm not. I'm happy that I even have people just in general paying attention to my stuff. I'm still grateful for that. Like, that's the one thing I'm really happy with, and I'm happy that my comment section doesn't get poisoned. Like, that's sort of the thing I feared. I feared that maybe my comments would eventually start dipping and becoming, like, kind of toxic. They haven't. The one time they kind of got a little, like, ugh, was, my Superman, why Superman's, like, the worst, superhero video. Like, that was the only one that got me a lot of flack. But I'm sorry. In my opinion, Superman is just not the best. It's just, he's the worst in my eyes. He's just not a very good superhero. You can watch the video itself if you want to see exactly what I go and talk about, but it's just kind of funny because most of my videos do so well. Like, the like to dislike ratio is always at a good level. You know, there's way more likes than there are dislikes. But with the Superman video, it's like, no, there are more like dislikes than there are likes, and I'm like, damn. the Superman fanboys, they don't play. But yeah, I digress. When it comes to cartoons, I just find myself enjoying them a lot more. And I find it easier to try to keep up with them because, you know, they're a lot more spaced out. I mean, sure, there are a bunch of shows that come out, and even then I'm like, I don't want to review that. Like there are certain shows I reviewed this year, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Hotel Transylvania series, and I was just like, I don't want to review shows like that, man. Like, that was just boring. like that's the big problem, is that there can be a lot of mundane shows that come out, and it's just like, there's nothing special about these. There's nothing that evokes much of a reaction from me, and I'm like, I feel like I'd be wasting everybody's time talking about it. You know, there's this show Mysticons, and I look at this and I'm like, this looks so damn generic. It looks like them early 2000 like team up shows, and I'm like, why? I haven't really watched it, but at the same time, I feel like, do I need to? Like, is there really anything to this? It looks generic. It looks blander than fucking white bread. It's like, God. So that's sort of that's the one drawback, or a bit of the drawback of doing cartoons. The other drawback being there's not as many, I probably mentioned this, but the big drawback is mainly just there's just not as many cartoons, so that's why you get a lot of these dry spells from my channel where I'm giving you a video like this, or I'm talking about something else. But like with anime, it's like, yeah, you're not gonna run out anytime soon of stuff to talk about. Like, every season, there's always something new. There's always a bunch of new stuff you can be talking about. But the big problem is just trying to do that and trying to put a new spin to it. I don't feel like I can do anything new when it comes to anime. I feel like the way it is, there are a bunch of people already on the internet who can put a great special spin to it and talk about it in better detail than I could. I feel like that's just kind of the big difficulty. It's just wanting to really get into the shows, but you feel it feels like a chore, you know? I don't want to watch a show and it starts feeling like work. Like, even when I review cartoons, like certain cartoon shows, I don't want it to feel like I'm just putting myself to work here. You know, I want to, like, even though I look at everything in a critical light, I still want to feel like I'm still having fun. Like, certain shows that I watch, that I've reviewed, I still watch, you know. Like, the bad ones, I stop, obviously. Like, when I did Pickle and Peanut, I stop. I don't watch that. I don't keep watching it because it's garbage in my eyes. But the good stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep checking this out. It's, you know, it's pretty good. But that's just sort of the thing. Like, anime, I like anime. I do try to keep up with some stuff, but like I said, the most I can keep up was like Dragon Ball Super, My Hero Academia, and One Punch Man when that comes back. And that's just sort of thing. Like, I have reviewed anime, like my Erased review, and I just found it a bit more tricky. It's like, it's just difficult trying to keep up with all of them. That's sort of the big trick of it, is trying to keep up with all these different animes. Like, I do like them, but I just can't find myself wanting to keep up. I like them, but I don't know. And that's sort of the big thing that I kind of get mad at is that anime is so popular, whereas cartoons, they're not. And it's kind of baffling a bit. It's like, how come people don't really like cartoons that much? You know, like, we got good stuff. Like I said, there is a lot of shit you gotta dig through to get to it, but there's still good stuff. You know, like we got Rick and Morty, we got BoJack Horseman. Sure, it doesn't look as pretty as a lot of anime, but I mean, what does it matter? As long as they have good characters, as long as they got good stories, stuff like that. Like, that's usually what you should be looking at more, rather than just the fact that it looks pretty. Of course, a lot of it is also anime can do action a lot better. like that's sort of the thing. Like, even with the new Castlevania series, like, they took heavy influence from anime. If you watch it, it's like, yeah, that's like, it's very much like an anime. It's an American production, but they clearly were like, we gotta make this sort of like anime. It looks beautiful as hell. Like, the fight scenes are amazing. But it's like, that's because they took influence from anime. You watch other, like, shows, Rick and Morty can have some good action sequences, but they just don't look as pretty as, say, an anime. Like, One Punch Man would blows it completely out of the water when it comes to, like, their fight sequences. They go over the top in anime, and it usually comes out a better product. So that's sort of the advantage, but I digress. Like, I just wish more people would watch cartoons a bit more, because there is good stuff. It does suck that the cartoon community sadly just can't get as popular as the anime community. The anime community ends up going up there pretty fast. Like, people who review anime, it doesn't take too long for them to really get up there in subscribers. Me, on the other hand, it takes me a while. Like, I'm just this close to finally getting to 2,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. But, the big problem is just, it takes a lot longer. That's sort of the sad truth of it. Some people end up having to do a bunch of different things, even though they're a cartoon review channel. It's like they have to talk about something regarding YouTube to help keep the channel relevant. I don't like doing that, because I'm like, one, there's a lot of negative shit on YouTube that I'm just like, I'm not about to talk about that. You know, I don't talk about no fucking Jake Paul or Bobby, whatever fuck her name is. Because I'm just like, I don't want to be talking about these people who will become very irrelevant very fast, you know? Like, we're talking about them right now, but they become irrelevant fast as shit. Whereas with cartoon shows, they can last a little longer. Granted, some of them don't, obviously. But it's still better than talking about somebody who you're not going to give a shit about. Like, at least doing reviews on cartoons, someone's likely to come across a review and try to seek out the cartoon. Talking about, like, a YouTuber, someone will hear about it and be like, yeah, that's a jackass. I'm not gonna, look them up. But it's kind of interesting that this asshole existed, I guess. But why the fuck do I need to go look them up? That's just sort of the big thing. Like, I like being able to do cartoons. I like that. Maybe eventually I'll probably change up the channel a bit to start incorporating different things. But for right now, it's just doing cartoons. And like I said, I like anime, but it's always tricky. It's just tricky to try to keep up with that stuff, especially when you know there are people who will easily blow you out of the water, who will easily, they will easily do this. Like, that's the one thing about it. And the thing about it is, like, I enjoy doing my cartoons. I'm happy with the numbers that I can pull to be able to, like, I'm just happy that people watch my content, you know? I'm happy people are enjoying this, that I can provoke some thought and get them to think about certain things. That's why I sort of started some thoughts videos, because, like, there's certain things that I feel like people just kind of miss when it comes to certain topics. So I'm like, I'll give my spin on it, and maybe I can get somebody to think about it in a different light. Like, I talked about sexuality and gender when it comes to characters, and I felt like there's something people tend to be missing when it comes to that type of stuff. And I just feel like that's just sort of thing. It's like, I feel like I can do more talking about this type of stuff rather than anime, because with anime, you have to you have to know your shit. Cartoons, it's a little easier, you know, especially since it's a lot easier to get in contact with, like, the creators of shows, because they stay on, like, Tumblr, on Twitter, Facebook, and all that. They make it easier for them to, like, for you to like contact them and ask them some stuff. Because it's like, yeah, we got social media, why not? It helps create buzz for the show, get some information out there about the show. It's like, why not take advantage of... It's like, why not? But with anime, it's like, yeah. There's going to be that clear language barrier. And that's sort of the other thing about anime that I've... sort of a problem with anime that I found is that reviewing with subbed anime, there's a bit of a trick. Like, as you're watching it, you're going to have problems, like, because you're constantly trying to both watch what's on the screen, like the characters and stuff, but you're also trying to read the subtitles. And it's like, okay, you're constantly switching back and forth, and if there's a lot of stuff going on the screen, that makes it tricky. Now, granted, some animes know how to handle this better by, you know, making it so there's not too much going on screen. Like, they make sure there's not a bunch of subtitles going on while there's a big action sequence happening. They make sure, okay, we're gonna stay on this one shot for a bit, and then the character's gonna say his dialogue, and then back to the action. Like, that's sort of how One Punch Man does it, and it's fun, and it's great when they do that, but it's just a bunch of other animes don't know how to do that. Like I said, there are dubs, and some of them do simulcast, but like I said, it's still a bit of a chore to try to keep up with all of them. But yeah, I do like anime. It's just, in terms of wanting to review it, that's the trick. And trying to keep up with all the shows, like I said, it's just a bit of a chore. I like cartoons a lot. I find myself enjoying cartoons the most. I grew up on them a lot more. I grew up on anime too, but I grew up enjoying cartoons a lot more. I feel like there's still a bit of a stigma when it comes to cartoons. People just assume kid stuff, even the stuff that's more or less general audience, as in anybody can watch it. But I guess it's a bit of people want more mature stuff. That's why they flock to like Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman and stuff, and the more general audience type of shows like your OKKOs, your Tangled the series, and what have you. They don't do that well because people are just like, that's for kids. When it's like, anybody can watch this. Just because it doesn't have like nudity, cursing, and horror and straight up gory graphic violence doesn't mean it's not something you couldn't enjoy. Like, it's still something. It's still like they still have endearing characters and good storylines. Why not just watch it? Like, I never understood that stigma that people feel. I just don't understand a bit of the stigma that people feel anime is a lot more mature. When, yeah, it's more mature, but sometimes it's a lot more immature, if you know what I mean. Like, let's face it, when it comes to anime, there's a lot more perviness. What's his name from Studio Ghibli? Hayao Miyazaki said, it's like anime was a mistake because he pointed out it's like they kind of perv it up a lot more. I mean, let's not fake. Sure, they kind of people perv up cartoons, but that's Rule 34 for you. But the thing is, like when it comes to the actual animes itself, at least when it comes to Rule 34, it's people who aren't attached to the show perv it up. Whereas with anime, people who are attached with the show and mangas and stuff, they're the ones perving it up. Not all, obviously, not all animes get pervy, but some of them do. And it's like, okay, I get it, you're perverts. Like, come on, dude. It's not as funny. And like I said, it's a bit more, it makes it seem more immature compared to cartoons. Like, cartoons will say some pervy shit and have that have that type of stuff happen, but usually it's not played up it's played up just for the sake of comedy. Like, someone gets their comeuppance because they were being a bit of a pervert. Granted, the same thing does kind of happen in anime, but usually it's played up like the protagonist is a perv, but they try to make it seem like you should sympathize with them. Like, no. And it's usually like these guys who are just wimps. It's like, ugh, like, why? But I completely got off topic, but yeah, that's just sort of my take on anime and why I don't really do it. Like, I do enjoy it, but I just feel like it's not something I can put a new spin on. I feel like whatever I say, it's just gonna have already been said by somebody else, and probably explained a lot better than I could explain. That's just sort of thing. And another thing is always trying to keep up with the competition. It's like, how do you try to keep up with these people? Like, I can't compete with Digibro or Mother's Basement or any other anime reviewers because they're like fast. They are fast as fuck when it comes to reviewing these things. Me, it would take me a while, especially since some of them do the whole weekly thing. So it's like, okay, how do I watch all this in one go? I mean, it's like, okay, sometimes because some shows, you know, you have to watch multiple episodes. Others, you can get a good general idea of the show, but based on just one episode. But I don't know. That's just sort of my take on it. I do like anime, and it's just I'm just not gonna be that type of channel. I can't turn this channel into something that would go into reviewing animes because it would be tricky, and it's a lot harder to try to do that type of stuff, try to review that type of stuff. That's just kind of the big downside of it. I enjoy cartoons the most because it feels like I can watch this at my own pace, at my own leisure. And in terms of the competition, I don't feel like I get swamped there too much. At least I don't feel like it. But that's just sort of my take on it. I just really think cartoons are a better place for me to review, and I'm happy people, you know, tune into my content. Am I bitter that I'm not up there in the numbers? No. As long as people are sitting here and like I see people in my comment section talking about this type of stuff, talking about the stuff I've been saying, like talking about sharing ideas about this type of stuff because I managed to provoke some type of thought in them. I'm happy. You know, I provoked a conversation, and that's kind of that was sort of my main goal, is that I want to be able to provoke some type of conversation out of you to think in a different light about certain things. That's why I do my man rants a lot of the time, because like maybe you can see things in a different light than, you know, go against the norm. That's sort of kind of what I like doing, and that's just kind of the way I enjoy it the most, is that I'm able to provoke thought and be able to say more about these things and be able to touch on it in such a different way. And I'm so grateful that people are tuning in and commenting and liking and subscribing and you know, trying to have these conversations about these things. That's just something I'm always so happy that happens a lot on this channel. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and make sweet love to that subscribe button. Also, tease that little bell so you can be notified of new videos whenever they go up. And also, go to my Patreon. Your contributions can help this channel grow, and if you pledge $1 today, you get early access to my videos, and just as well, you get your name at the end of each video. So, go to my Patreon and pledge today. And always remember, it's just a thought.
Set your circuits free.